Thank you, Laska Hirlag. I too am extraordinarily moved by all of the contributions here. I really am grateful to Senator Bunn for the honesty and transparency and the passion. I am equally always impressed by Senator Higgins's passion, and I am conflicted by this legislation, as I know you are, Minister, that it isn't how we would want legislation to be, but needs must, because time is of the essence. I am opposing this amendment, and for the following reasons. Not because I don't absolutely agree with the confidentiality, 100%, in the manner in which you so eloquently put it, Senator. But I am opposing this because I don't believe it's necessary. I really don't believe it's necessary. Mindful of the context here, it feels, and I need to put this on record, it feels obscene to argue technicalities of law. It really does. It feels that. And I am referring to myself, not to you, Senator. I'm referring to myself because that's what I'm about to do. Because I too have had the phone calls, I too have sat and wept on the phone with people who have told me stories, and my own family is not untouched by this. So, and people within my I suppose my association and that are not untouched by this. So to stand here and argue what I'm about to argue, I feel I need to qualify it by that. But when the 2004 Act was set up, it was set up for any type of commission of inquiry, and it set in place a series of principles that would allow us to arrive at a conclusion, a report that then could be dealt with by a minister in whatever way the minister, within the confines of the rules of the Act. And I appreciate it. I don't think the 2004 Act, I think it's a very strong and very good piece of legislation. By the time 2015 came around and we heard the reports, we heard the stories, as matters and more matters, and even as this day and this week rolls on, the horror of it comes out even more and more. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse, it does. But our culture changed, and what I see in the 2015 statutory instrument is a provision for nuance, a provision for arriving at a full and complete story that maybe wouldn't, and we know the experiences of the courts when it comes to sexual assault and rape, and how that and the horror of that. And I think that in this, by setting up a confidential committee, there was a system that was outside of the normal evidence, and the technical definition of evidence, of it being arriving at a fact on the basis of being tested, being cross-examined in an adversarial situation, albeit that adversarial isn't always appropriate, but that the confidential committee provided for that place, that the stories could be told without fear of being cross-examined, without fear of being undermined, being challenged in the manner in which it is necessary to arrive at what would constitute evidence, what a court would consider evidence. And the obligation within the statutory instrument, it says the confidential committee shall operate under the direction and be accountable to, provide for the procedures for individuals to have their identity remain confidential, and produce a report of a general nature on the experiences of single women and children. And so the object of the confidential committee was to fill out the story. It was to make sure that, you know, any of us before a situation where we're going to be cross-examined, we're going to be careful. I find myself even here nervous of every single word, because the power and privilege of this House gives us the opportunity to either heal or wound for the people that are out there watching this. So I find myself nervous in this context for that reason. But the confidential committee was so that that would be stripped away. People could sit, tell their story, and the confidential committee members could come away afterwards with a full version of events that maybe couldn't come out if it was to be cross-examined. So I think it doesn't constitute evidence, and that's where I get technical. I don't think it constitutes evidence, and I don't think it constitutes the record. So therefore, I think, in my view, my very humble opinion, I consider that Section 5 is adequate to exclude anything that flows from the Confidential Committee in this context, because it has, I don't think that we need to go there, because all that was coming out of the Confidential Committee is the generalised report. So I don't believe that the amendment is necessary, and consequently I don't agree.